Welcome to Wish I Had Known, the show where hindsight meets insight. Host Jodie Lamb has worn many hats in the world of finance, from navigating the intricacies of financial planning to unraveling the mysteries of insurance claims and diving deep into the realm of structured settlements. Each episode explores the topics that make you say, if only I had known this sooner. Join the conversation as we uncover the insights that can make all the difference. This is Wish I Had Known, because knowledge is power and hindsight is 20/20.
When knowledge is power and hindsight is 20/20, we discuss one topic at a time to help regrets of saying, if only I had known. Today, we're talking with Shawn Deane, General Counsel and VP of Claims at J29. Welcome, Shawn.
Thanks so much, Jodie. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we'll get into your story and talk about what you wish you had known.
Sure thing. I'd love to. I appreciate being on. I always think it's fascinating, people in the insurance space, how they got there. So I always like to tell people where I came from. I came from the middle of nowhere in Southern California in a town called Joshua Tree, and probably no one knows what it is. So you're nodding your head. You know,
I've drove through it.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Or drove past it at least.
I tell people, and they're like, the U2 album? And I'm like, no, it's an actual place. It's in the high desert in Southern California. I think the closest nearest city is Palm Springs, but yeah, that's where I grew up from the time I was probably 7 years old till I left for college. And it was an incredible place to grow up, but I had no aspirations of getting into insurance. I'm so glad that I did, but it's interesting how life just sort of steers us in places that we were meant to be, but that we had no idea we were going. I figured I was going to be a rock star, so I'm sitting here doing, an interview with you about ultimately about our path in insurance and what we wish we'd known. But I figured I was going to be on the road in a touring band, and I went to Berklee College of Music and did my 4 years there, and realized towards the end that I had aspirations to have a family, and that is not. Being on the road, playing music every night is not terribly conducive to that. So I went and got my master's in education and counseling, and I was a guidance counselor in the Boston Public Schools. I left Berklee with a degree in music ed and figured I'd parlay that into stay in education. And I had all the naivety of a 20-year-old thinking I was going to change the world. And it was really tough, and I had some great experiences being a guidance counselor, but I found a lot of my job there was helping kids in the legal realm, providing them legal services. So I decided to go to law school and went to law school fully expecting to be a child welfare advocate. And I did an internship with the Department of Social Services in Massachusetts, and it was heavy. My first trial that I sat in on was a termination of parental rights, where the state can effectively say, like, hey, you're not a parent anymore to a mom or dad. And I saw a mother get her rights terminated as a parent, and I said, oh my gosh, I don't know that this is too intense. Even though I love the idea of helping kids and families. Clerked for a judge, took the bar, waiting for my bar results, needed a job because my wife was pregnant and she wasn't working. And the judge I clerked for said, hey, I went to law school with a partner at a firm who does insurance defense. And I said, oh, cool. All right, I'll do that. I'll give it a try. And learned so much, but realized it takes a person with a certain constitution to be in the adversarial mix. And I loved the research and writing aspect of it. I got exposed to some workers' compensation and some Medicare issues, and fell in love with it on the subject matter side, and knew I wanted to do something different. and mistakenly applied to what I thought was an SSDI advocacy firm. I went to law school with a buddy who managed at an SSDI firm, and called him up and said, "Hey, Matt, see that you have a job posted." I remember looking for the job on Craigslist on an iPhone 3G. It was like the second generation iPhone when you can actually surf the net. And he said, "No, that's not my firm. That's our sister company down the road. They do Medicare set-asides." And I'm like, "Well, what's a Medicare set-aside?" And he said, "I have no idea, but I think you'll be good at it." So I got into the space by applying to the wrong job. So, I mean, that goes to my point of the universe can kind of just steer you in a direction. And I got there and spent 11 years at the nation's, one of the nation's largest MSA services providers, and absolutely loved the subject matter. But I guess what I wish I would have known wasn't until I got to a company called Amitros, where I was general counsel for 4 years. And that specifically is understanding the impact that an injury has on someone. And when I was doing Medicare set-asides and conditional payment investigations and analysis and helping insurance carriers with their Section 111 reporting, it was really academic for me. And every once in a while you go through an MSA and go, "Gosh, this is a really tough injury. It's a catastrophic claim," but you didn't get a feel for the person behind that MSA. It was an exercise in compliance and ensuring that there were the right line item medical services and prescription drugs for this person for the rest of their life. And I don't mean to gloss over that, because that's incredibly important. But if you don't have experience talking with injured individuals, you don't understand the impact that it has. And I got to Amitros, and from day one saw the incredible work that they did. I saw how confused an injured individual was. The very first thing I did as general counsel there, I didn't even have an office set up, and they asked me, what do you want to do? Do you want to go through some documentation or sit down with human resources? I said, "No, I want to hear what it's like for someone to come on the platform." And I sat down with a sales operations manager who onboards individuals, and I got to put on the headset, and she got on a call with an injured individual, and I was blown away by how confused they were, and I was touched deeply by how they expressed how difficult the claims process had been in some instances, or just what they were going through as human beings. And I felt like for me, it brought full circle the human aspect with the theoretical aspect. And I was so moved by it during the pandemic, I decided to create a podcast where I talk to injured individuals and their family members and hear their stories. And I was really blessed to get to meet so many of them and get to meet them in person, and understand who they were as people and how the claim and injury process affected their life and their family members' lives. So I wish I had known that. Hindsight is what it is. And it's very difficult to have that perspective absent having the opportunity to be in a role where you get to interact with them. So it was really, really great for me. But that would be I wish I'd known kind of epiphany for me.
It is a profound honor and privilege to work with people in some of the scariest times of their life. My personal journey through my career to end up where we are now is random as yours. It feels like it started out with being involved in a car accident and specializing in insurance and finance when I was in college, but financial planning turned investments, turned claims, turned structured settlements. I'd never even heard of a structured settlement before I started handling claims and negotiating settlements. But working with those injured parties is humbling. both putting myself in their shoes and reflecting on my past experiences as well, it definitely humanizes the experiences to understand what they're going through and to know that you can add value and give them financial security and peace of mind and help safeguard their settlements for years to come. How have you taken this knowledge, Shawn, and applied it to what you're doing now?
Yeah. I mean, it's affected me in a few ways. One, I think it bridges the gap between the cerebral, the brain and the heart. And in certain regards, it doesn't change exactly what I do as far as, following Medicare's guidelines and ensuring that all the things that need to be in the MSA are there. But I'll tell you, it's more fulfilling to go through the process having an empathetic mindset for the person that's behind that Medicare set aside. And whether or not the work product reflects that isn't as important as having meaning behind what we do. And I think it's one of the greatest parts of being in the insurance industry is that we get to help people, and we get to help people, as you indicated, in arguably their greatest time of need. When they're at their most vulnerable, they're injured, they might be out of or off of work at a time. They don't know where their next check's coming from. They're afraid about settling their case because they don't know what it'll be like. And, people like you and myself can come in and help alleviate that concern and really provide, comfort for them that they're going to be okay, after they resolve their claim. And I think that's the biggest for me. I think it's just a better way to operate in this space too. I've come to know you through social media, and I think I know this was to talk about me, but I want to talk about you for a second. I think you're one of the most positive people in our space because you focus on kindness and being empathetic and connecting with people. Obviously, your stuff and you're a subject matter expert in the area, but you lead with your heart in that vein. And I just think it's super important that we do that because the people we're ultimately serving are people who've been through so much. I feel like I've talked to parents who've lost children. I came to the conclusion that I needed to do more too, other than just talk to them. So I was really lucky, and I don't mean to plug these, it's a shameless plug for these nonprofits, but they're really wonderful organizations. And I would say for anyone listening who loves their gig in insurance, think about giving back too. So one of the other things that's changed for me is I wanted to get involved. So I'm on the board of directors for an organization called Kids Chance. And I'm on the board for the Massachusetts chapter. If you haven't heard of it, it's they're in all 50 states. Chapters are in all 50 states, and they're led by Kids Chance of America. And the singular goal of these organizations is to raise funds for children who've had a parent who's been killed or catastrophically injured in a work-related accident. And I mean, to get to meet some of these kids and see how it's positively impacted their lives and talk to the surviving spouse, it's like by far and away the coolest thing that I do, beyond what I do for my day job. And I'm also involved in an organization called Kind Souls Foundation, which provides a warm line where an injured worker or their family member can pick up the phone and just talk to someone with no judgment, get resources, to mental health facilities or providers, and just have someone to talk to and be there. So I'm an ambassador for that organization, and we'll be starting a podcast in 2024 for them called Compassion. So really excited about that. But through getting to know injured workers and cultivating and fostering a greater sense of empathy for them and their situation has really prompted me to take action and get involved in organizations like that. It's one thing to for me at least, to talk the talk, but really want to raise funds for them and do something pragmatic and meaningful and impactful for them.
I love it. Why don't you use this opportunity to share their contact information? How, if you have that off the top of your head, if not, we'll put it in the show notes at the end. But
absolutely. So Kind Souls, it's kindsoulsfoundation.org, and Kids Chance of Massachusetts is KIDSCHANCE of ma.org. So Kids Chance of ma.org. And you can also Google Kids Chance of America for your local chapter, whatever state or jurisdiction you're in, and take a look at that. But I think those are two of the most active and directly impactful organizations you can get involved with. So I'd highly, highly recommend. Each state is always looking for volunteers. There's different committees you can be on. There's opportunities oftentimes to sit on the board, and you get to be around like-minded people who, really care about the folks that they're ultimately serving in our industry. And it's made me feel that much fortunate to be in this industry. It blows me away. I'm always fascinated by why insurance jobs. And this could be like in your situation or mine, as a structured settlement professional or a Medicare set-aside professional or anyone on the services end or directly in claims, why it's looked at as such kind of a stuffy, boring gig. And I don't think it is. I think it's one of the coolest, altruistically driven careers you could possibly go in. And I think we can do a better job, folks like you and I who have a voice, to express how wonderful it is and the opportunities that are out there to help people. Because that's really what we're doing at the end of the day. Whatever activity we're engaged in, we're looking to help someone. And to me, there's nothing better than that.
I love it. I'll share that It Settled, your prior podcast, is what has given me a little bit of incentive and courage to start Wish I Had Known. I wish I had known so much earlier in my career, so much more professionally and personally, that I feel compelled to share this information in what I do in my industry. And I applaud you for all that you're doing, but I love the give back. I love the paying it forward. And I've not heard of those organizations before. So thank you for sharing that. I absolutely will look into that, because I think there is a lot of opportunity for us to appreciate more than just what we do, but the impact of who we can help. And like you said, it's more than just the financial component. There's the mental, there's the physical component as well. And the holistic wellness is the approach for not only my personal life, but professionally. I don't look at just numbers. We don't look at just the person based on their diagnosis. They're an individual. They've got the families, they've got needs, they've got fears. And as we said, working with them and in these times of significant life-changing experiences I feel blessed. I feel honored to do so. And working with people like you as well with that same heart means a lot. I think it really gives a lot of positivity to our industries and to give hope to people who've been through a lot and lost a lot. Shawn, you're extraordinary. How do we find you? How do we learn more? How do people reach out to you? What's your social connections?
Yeah, if you're on LinkedIn, you can find me just by typing my name, Shawn Deane, ShawnDeane. I know it's some people spell it differently. Or you can go to my company's website too. That's j29inc.com, j29inc.com. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I would love for you to be a guest on the Kind Souls Foundation podcast in 2024. It would be an honor and a privilege to have you on and to hear more about your story and the work that you're doing and to showcase you.
I'd love it. Well, thank you so much for that invitation. Do you have any final parting thoughts or words or recommendations on this thought and this topic?
It's okay as an insurance professional to get emotionally involved in your work. And I don't mean, over involved or cross any boundaries. I just mean it's okay to put your heart into it. And I think oftentimes in a job that's a lot of numbers and a lot of, rules and regs and legal documents and planning and contracts, it's sometimes difficult, and procedural stuff and hearings, emails and, all this sort of process and academic stuff. You miss out on the fact that we're just dealing with people and trying to help people. So that would be my big leave behind for your audience.
I love it. I'll share real quick that when I got hired into claims, I remember one of the most obvious, one of the feedbacks that it was shared with me is they were concerned about hiring me because I brought that personal injury experience and that I might be too sympathetic. But I think that is what made me excel at that profession and that job, is because I cared enough to not just treat it as a number or as another case. I really genuinely try to connect and understand the needs of the people. And I think we're kindred spirits in that. So
I think that's why you found such a unique and special voice in this industry.
I can say the same for you, Shawn. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks. It was absolutely my pleasure, Jodie.
Well, this has been another enlightening discussion aimed at expanding our understanding so we won't have to utter regretful words. I wish I'd known. If you have a remarkable anecdote or wish I had known insight that you want to share, #AskJodie. I'd love to hear your story. If you come across a challenging situation or you have a question that you don't know how to answer or know what to do next, feel free to reach out. Send me a DM on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to chat. Until next time, take care.
Welcome to Wish I Had Known. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please like, share, and subscribe so you can hear all of Jodie's chats, so you don't have to say, "Wish I had known."